Just get this set up here. All right, you guys go ahead and get started whenever you're ready.
Hey, thank you. My name is Matthew Valdez, and I am an online education reference and instruction librarian.
I'm Ashley Mount. I'm the director of the Perkins Grant and Program Development.
Hi, my name is Greg Mehlhose, and I'm the IT Systems Administrator Operations Manager. I've been working at PPCC for a long time, and when I first started working, Chancellor Garcia was the president of PPCC. I've also got to hike the summit of Pikes Peak with Chancellor Garcia during a group outing. During my career at PPCC, I have worked solely for the IT Support Services Group, and next year I will earn a 20-year service award. So first of all, I would like to welcome everyone and thank you all for attending our presentation today. Our discussion today is all about the topic of advancing a culture of belonging through new employee onboarding experiences. Next slide, please. Before we dive into our discussion, here's a quick outline of our presentation. First, we're going to talk about the challenges of employee retention, and then next we're going to present a set of new employee experiences that will be used to advance a culture of belonging. And then we're going to present a framework that we're going to use to measure the effectiveness of our program and encourage participation. And then finally, we're just going to summarize it all up and tie it all together for you. Next slide, please. So 90% of new employees typically make their decision to stay with a company during the first 6 months of employment. Establishing a sense of belonging at work and in the community is a very important factor in influencing an employee's decision to leave or stay at a job. And for all of us, the fabric of belonging is interwoven into our DNA. We all want to belong with our families, friends, social groups, and work cohorts. Everywhere you look, there are so many ways to connect with others and establish a sense of belonging. However, even with so many opportunities to connect, there's still so many people that feel like they don't belong or haven't established that sense of connection. We are all searching for the right experiences that help us connect and belong. So, what if we could provide more opportunities to establish a sense of belonging for new employees at PPCC? And what if those experiences could sway the odds of retaining new employees in our favor? Well, that is what we're here to present to you today. A collection of new experiences designed for employees to advance a culture of belonging. And now I would like to hand over the discussion to Ashley to take a closer look at the challenges of employee retention.
Greg, so we can advance to the next slide, please. Thanks. So as we were researching this topic, we wanted to specifically understand what specific reasons fuel a decision to stay at a company or leave. We wanted to really focus in to see what those factors were so that we could target our response. So we read multiple research articles about the topic, and a lot of them had similar findings and boiled down to these two main reasons that we have here on the screen. So number one is just lack of clarity about job roles, the duties, the day in, day out, what's really expected of the employee. And the second reason was just the unpreparedness of managers, colleagues, just the organization as a whole to help that new person really feel welcomed. So with that, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. We really just saw through the plethora of research that we did that all employers face the challenge of employee retention. It's not unique to any one organization. It's something that all businesses must look into. So as we were researching this, one of the things we thought about was, what does it mean for us to tackle this at Pikes Peak Community College? What does it mean to feel a sense of belonging in our unique college? So with this, we decided to explore how could we increase belonging, community, and then also the additional benefits of supporting employee retention, saving on expenses associated with rehiring and retraining. You can go ahead and go to the next slide, please. It all boiled down to something really important to us, and that's that idea that experiences are what seem to really matter. So remember that 90% of new employees make their decision to stay with a company within the first 6 months. So with that, we're just going to take a quick moment for an aside and talk about our experiences at Pikes Peak Community College. We've all been here for a while, and we want to share our experiences being new to this community. So I'll go ahead and kick us off. So I started at Pikes Peak Community College about 5 years ago. Yay for me. I just celebrated my 5-year anniversary, got my plaque. So when I first started, I had come from a very small college previously. We had about 200 students and probably like 20 employees. So coming to Pikes Peak with multiple campuses, hundreds of employees and students was just a big transition for me. So one day I remember I was sitting out at the Centennial Courtyard right outside of Student Life, and I was eating lunch by myself. And all of a sudden I hear someone say, "Hey, do you want to come sit with us?" And I look up and I realize that they're actually talking to me. So I'm like, okay, sure. So I go and I take my lunch and I walk over to this table, and didn't even know if they were students or employees. Quickly found out they were a group of employees at Pikes Peak from IT and from institutional effectiveness, and they quickly became my new community. We were the lunch group, and we would get together almost every day and have lunch, and that was the first real sense of community that I had at Pikes Peak. And I'm just so grateful to that group for reaching out to me out of the blue, a complete stranger. But one thing I do want to point out about my story is that this integration into the community, it was largely by chance. So with that, I'm going to pass on the mic to Greg so he can talk about his experiences.
Thank you, Ashley. So the personal experience that I'd like to share with you today is one that relates the impact of the cultural awareness presentation that was led by Keith Barnes and the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion team, DEI for short, that took place during the Enhancing Leadership Program. So as I mentioned in my introduction, I've been employed at PPCC for nearly 20 years and have worked solely for Information Technology Support Services team. I love my career and I really love working at PPCC. The typical daily routine that I do every day is just working with computers, software, and technology-related projects. The nature of my job responsibilities, however, just don't really provide many opportunities to explore topics like DEI and the culture beyond reading an occasional email. And even if it's of great importance when I receive it in email, many times the email just gets kind of buried by a flood of other work-related emails and it gets forgotten. It wasn't really until the face-to-face meeting led by Keith Barnes and the DEI team that I became aware and really started to understand the importance of DEI and how it relates to the culture of our PPCC community. During the meeting, Keith relayed the heartbeat and the current culture of PPCC, and he also shared with us Dr. Bolton's desire to support and develop a culture of belonging at PPCC. Just hearing Keith's in-person discussion was very impactful for me, and it made me feel that DEI and cultural awareness is an important topic for me and probably everyone. It wasn't until shortly afterwards, after attending the DEI discussion, as we started working on our ELP Capstone projects, our team, we knew that we wanted to focus in on the topic of belonging. And as I reflected back to the DEI discussion, I felt very passionate about wanting to create a similar DEI experience and cultural experience for new employees. It took nearly 20 years for me to be exposed and recognize the importance of DEI and PPCC culture. My hope is that we can offer an impactful DEI and cultural awareness experience to new employees during their first few months of employment. Thank you for listening to my story. And now I'd like to pass the conversation to my teammate, Matthew.
Thank you, Greg and Ashley, for sharing your stories. I've been with the school for a little over 3 years now, And in that time, I've been able to participate in the hiring process by chairing or serving on search and screen committees, and also training new members of my department's team. And I can say from experience and observation that when a new hire resigns and leaves the institution after just a few months, that experience doesn't end with their exit. Their departure leaves a wake of lowered morale amongst the staff who remained. And so while the solutions we're discussing today are aimed specifically at new employees, we really do hope that the retention benefits will ripple out to other layers of employees. If you were to see the research that we looked at and the anecdotes that led us to this particular project, what this helped us realize as a team is that for good or bad, experiences really do matter. And if you can advance to the next slide, please. That's why we decided to focus on these specific areas where we felt we could practically create experiences for new employees that would be valuable, meaningful, and would lead to more experiential opportunities during their time with the institution. You might notice there are 5 areas here. We're going to be discussing 4 activities, so 2 of the areas are going to be combined into 1 activity. And we'll discuss each in turn, beginning with the next slide, please. So the first of the areas is the community experience. We asked ourselves, how can we support the creation of a sense of community right out of the gate for a new employee? And our solution is to coordinate with human resources and group new hires together into cohorts based on their hiring date. All new employees will attend the new employee orientation while earning progress towards the complete package of new employee experiences that we've assembled here. This cohort model gives new employees a group of fellow travelers to begin forming connections. And it ensures that everybody has a buddy or 2 to walk out with onto the new playground. Next slide, please. And now we'll hand it over to Greg to discuss the next.
Thank you, Matthew. The second experience that we'd like to talk about today is to advance the culture of belonging and is to provide the opportunity to establish awareness of culture, diversity, equity, and inclusion. The idea is to take the new employee cohort that was created during the HR onboarding process and provide a live in-person meeting with the DEI team, all within the first few months of being employed at PPCC. Because the meeting would be led live in person, it's going to be more meaningful and impactful for everyone involved. The participants will have the opportunity to meet in person, listen, and learn from our panel of leading experts on culture and DEI at PPCC. By staging this meeting during the first few months of being hired, new employees will have the opportunity for early exposure to DEI resources available to PPCC sooner than later. And by offering this opportunity to a cohort group of new employees, we are going to make it more effective for our DEI teams to reach larger audiences. So overall, we believe this experience is going to provide an excellent opportunity to advance a culture of belonging within employees' first few months of employment. Thank you. And now I'd like to pass off the discussion to Ashley to present our third new employee experience.
Thanks, Greg. I'll talk about this next experience. So the next piece that we'd like to talk about is the professional networking experience. So how do we provide groups of new employees with the opportunity to meet people who work at the college, providing open avenues for them to make those meaningful connections to other people beyond just their cohort? So this next step is all about meeting other people from other departments. So what we imagine is putting on a new employee appreciation and networking event about once a semester. And this would provide the opportunity for maybe one cohort or multiple cohorts to have an open, informal, low-cost meet and greet with other employees. Now, this could take on a lot of different creative approaches. It could be as simple as, hey, we're all gonna meet in this one room, come meet the new employees that started this semester. It can grow from there. You know, we could do bring your own brown bag lunch, or if, you know, our budget allows, you know, let's, you know, have some coffee together, you know, something low budget. The main point is really just providing that open space for people to come and meet the new employees. I couldn't tell you how many times we've had maybe a big division meeting and I look around the room and I just don't recognize all the new hires. So this would help pave that way and to help new employees and existing employees feel more comfortable and connected to the community. So with that, I'll go to the next slide and Matthew will take over.
Thank you, Ashley. So this next mission and campus experience is the one where we're admittedly hoping to feed at least 2 birds with 1 stone. We feel that it's very important for new employees to recognize that our connections to this community extend far beyond the name of the organization on the letterhead. We have connections and roots that extend back decades and spread out over the entire region. We send instructors to area military bases and high schools. We educate thousands of students remotely, work with local merchants and elected officials, and have satellite learning centers sprinkled all across the map. One way that new employees can sample our reach within the community is to visit each of our 3 main campuses in person if they're able. Here, they will locate key resources and offices, and they'll visit one of our 50th anniversary murals. It's really remarkable to see and read about the college's history within the community represented on a giant timeline. And this timeline exists on a website for the benefit of any sight-impaired employees. They could use a screen reader. Finally, by learning about the college mission and vision, this will help new employees remember who we are and why we're here. In other words, we want to show them the lodestar that we should all be keeping in mind when making and interpreting the decisions that affect how we do business. That would move us to the next slide, please. And Greg, thank you very
Great,
much.
thank you, Matthew. So to encourage participation with the new employee experiences and provide a process to measure the effectiveness of the program, we are going to use a digital badging solution. Next slide, please. So what is digital badging? Well, in essence, a digital badge is an accomplishment or a skill that can be displayed, accessed, or verified online in the cyber world. Digital badging is going to empower our employees to pursue their own personal and professional development journey by earning industry-recognized, employee-focused digital credentials. The digital badges are also going to provide a concrete way to provide evidence and proof of the achievements, skills, and experiences, which can be displayed on any web-based profiles like LinkedIn and social media accounts. And it's going to be a representation of the individual's learning experience. Here at PPCC, we are going to use the industry-recognized Credly digital badging solution. And now I'd like to hand off that discussion to my teammate Ashley so she can talk about the details of our digital badging solution.
Thanks, Greg. So it's really exciting times at Pikes Peak Community College because HR is fantastic. They're doing a great job and they're launching the badging system through Credly. So we were excited to find this as a really practical means to partner with our project. So we have developed, so it's actually in the system, it's the Arnie badge. It's ready, it's drafted, it's not officially published yet, but the Arnie badge is going to be the way that employees can experience all of these things that we've talked to you about today. And we picked Arnie because he's our school mascot, you know, in case you didn't know. And we thought, what better way to show that sense of belonging and school spirit than through having Arnie on our badge. We can go to the next slide, please. So to recap, new employees, specifically can earn the Arnie badge by participating in each of the experiences that we just described. So that's going to new employee orientation. That's something that's required anyway. So when employees attend that, they'll know that they already have one checkbox done on their journey to complete this badge. Next, we have the employee appreciation and networking experience, our DEI introductory session, and also the campus scavenger hunt. Next slide, please. Through this, we hope that there are really truly multiple benefits and outcomes through using the badging system. Number one, it recognizes the employees who have taken the time to complete these experiences. We truly hope that it'll encourage participation. It'll also help support a culture of skills attainment since badging is so new to Pikes Peak. We hope that it increases retention, fosters that sense of belonging, and also introduces employees to DEI from the very start of their careers here. Next slide, and I'll pass it on to Matt.
Thank you, Ashley. So we developed these solutions with an eye towards PPCC's stated strategic goals and what we could do to support the work of the institution as a whole. And we identified two of the specific strategic goals which our initiative can support. So for strategic goal number one, develop a mission-minded culture, the first tactic identified in the strategic plan is the development of future and existing leaders. By bringing new employees more fully into the fold on day one, we will maximize the potential of their contributions and growth within the organization. And then we look to two of the tactics attached to strategic goal number 5, better serve a diverse and prospective student population. That is hiring and retaining a diverse workforce and increasing the cultural competency of staff, which we'll support by providing this early opportunity to be introduced to the resources and initiatives available at PPCC. Next slide, please. So before we wrap up, and if we have a few minutes to take some questions, we just want to highlight again a few of the key concepts that underpin our project. We believe that positive, meaningful experiences and the existence of a true collegiate community are the necessary ingredients to create that sense of belonging that leads to happy, productive, and retained employees. Our solution is a package of new employee experiences which provides new hires opportunities to join networks and form connections, to familiarize themselves with the vision and history and mission of the institution, to see some of our reach in the community when they visit our 3 campuses, and it will provide them an introduction to the inclusive ethos of Pikes Peak Community College. Final slide, please. We're very appreciative of the support we received specifically from Human Resources and the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office. It was important to us that we create something that could actually be put into use and which would complement and integrate with the work of these important departments rather than interfere or create redundancies. We would be grateful if you can support us by encouraging new employees to participate in these experiences we've packaged together as an Arnie badge. And everyone, new hires and existing employees alike, would benefit from your participation in our networking and socializing events. If you think of the Arnie badge as the introductory badge that a new scout would earn when joining a troop, the natural progression there is to move on to earn more and more advanced badges in other areas. That analogy extends with the professional development badges PPCC has begun offering to employees. And so digital badging is something that will benefit from your continued support. I hope we've given you an example here of how digital badging can be applied to address the very real concerns of our institution. And thank you all for your attention, attendance, and time today. And if you scroll to the top of the chat, there is a handout you can download.
Awesome. That was wonderful, everyone. So I am going to open it up if anyone is interested in asking any questions, thoughts, anything there.
Hey, this is Keith Barnes. Outstanding presentation. I really enjoy working with them. I think it's critically important as a part of our mission to recruit and retain a diverse workforce. I think we focus a lot on recruitment, not so much on retention or examining why people leave and making sure that they have a rewarding experience. I also believe that we take for granted those of us who have been here a long time or you rose up the ranks that everybody fits in, especially when you have a new employee who is unfamiliar with the institution or the community. So I think this is monumentally important and very timely. And I really enjoyed the conversations we had, especially the conversation about pizza.
This is Joe Garcia. Thanks for the presentation. It was really great. And I loved not just feeding two birds with one scone, and I love the Arnie badge. I want one of those Arnie badges. But I really liked the whole message around creating a culture of belonging, because over the last few years, we've known that that is the really key to retaining students. The key to student success is make sure that students feel this culture of belonging. That's what keeps them coming back. That's what allows them to be successful. But it never occurred to me to apply that very same notion to retaining employees. And that was really just great to kind of see that connection. So thank you for that.
We have a first year experience for new students here, and recreating some version of that focusing on staff was one of our starting points when we were brainstorming this project. I notice a question from Dr. Bolton about comparing retention rates at PPCC versus state or national data. I don't believe we pulled that. We had recognized through the strategic goals that PPCC had already identified retention as something that we could contribute to. And so the data we collected had PPCC's retention rates so that we could look at our past performance and compare it to our future performance. If one of my teammates did pull data for state and national, they can correct me now.
No, we didn't pull the data, and part of it was actually one of the later groups that are going to go on this afternoon. I believe that they have that data, so I didn't want to do a double repeat of that. So tune in for the teaser. You know, you have a great presentation coming up this afternoon, so we just wanted to focus on the one. So, but I agree, it's always so smart to look at the data to understand. It's like, you know, we could have a perception that we need to improve in an area, but what's really going to create a benchmark for us, and how are we going to use that to measure the impact of, you know, multiple interventions or programs that we're proposing. So
Looks like there was another question there from Jamie. Is there a plan to follow up to the new employees to recruit them for participation in future onboarding? And also, on the other hand, did you reach out to long-term employees to see if there'd be buy-in for them to meet new employees?
Well, the short answer is yes to both. One of the nice things about this digital badging system that HR is using, participation in future events is open to graduates. So if somebody went through the Arnie badge, they could earn a more advanced badge later by being a presenter at one of the activities that new employees would be participating in. So it's sort of it feeds itself. The tail eats its snake, or the snake eats its tail. And then we did speak to a variety of stakeholders and departments to get some buy-in and gauge the interest in participating in, if nothing else, the socializing events and networking.
I think we also recognize that this is a project that's going to be under development, and there's going to be some logistics and some real things to think about, just like what you said. You know, how are we going to get buy-in? Like, we know that people want to meet new employees, but sometimes it's just trying to get out of your office, you know, out of the day-to-day and making that time to participate. And so I think that it'll grow in momentum, and it will take a little bit to launch, but I think we'll meet some great success along the way.
Leo wants to know, is this badge only for new employees, or is there a process to get the badge for current employees?
So Leo, it is only available for new employees. We just wanted to really kind of focus on providing the experience for new employees. However, there are many other badges that are going to be offered for existing employees to really work their way into diversity, equity, and inclusion, teamwork building, just a wide variety of other areas. So right now, this is only going to be offered for new employees.
I see a question from Sarah about a mentorship component. I'll just say that we didn't want redundancies with HR and DEI. We also tried to avoid redundancies with another group in the ELP program. So if you're interested in mentorship components, stay tuned for the next presentation.
Yeah, you guys are just getting all great feedback in here. Amazing, excellent job, great job. Megan says she would love to be a part of it where she can. Cyril's so proud to have Greg as a part of his team. Yay, everybody. Yeah, Dr. Bolton, loving this. I think it could be standardized in our onboarding process, and really excited to hear that. I may have missed this, yep, mentorship. Yeah, any other final questions or comments for anybody?
One thing I'd like to add real quick is that we really did have some extensive meetings also with Keith and with Lakeisha. Having that opportunity to talk to you guys and not developing what we were thinking about in a silo was really critical to this project. I mean, you two really put significant time with us, like going through our questions. I mean, we had so many ideas, and part of this project was just trying to define reasonable scope. And so again, thank you for your time, and of course for Ashley and Christy too, for helping us as well. And my awesome teammates, Greg, Matt, it's been a pleasure working with you.
Oh, such a good job, you all. Hey, I'd love to invite Lakeisha, since you've already been part of the work on this team, to help bridge this to HR. I really believe that there's value in looking at this as standardized. One of the things we know about employees is similar to what we know about students. Most of the time, they don't do optional. And so if we standardize these processes, I think it makes it a lot easier for people to participate. It makes it clear to supervisors as part of our process. It makes it easier for introverts who might like, oh, I don't really want to go to a group meeting. Like you actually have to go to the group meeting, and people benefit from it, but sometimes we're reticent to do it. So I just think this is just very, very good work. Thank you all.
You guys did an amazing job.